8 months ago, a software update killed my Mac Mini, this M1 Mac Mini, completely dead, which forced me to replace it with this Mac Mini. This is the entry-level M4 Mac Mini. After using it for the last 8 months, I think the internet might be completely wrong about base model Macs. Now, for years, this Mac Mini was my main desktop. It was actually my first step into the Mac ecosystem, because before that, I was using an iPad for most of my content, including editing early videos on this channel in LumaFusion. When I actually got this Mac Mini, I was amazed by just how small, silent, and affordable it was, and most importantly, it just worked. Until one day I installed a software update, the software stalled for some reason, and then nothing. Logic board failure, game over. So suddenly I needed a replacement, and that replacement came in this base M4 Mac Mini. Now, I'll be honest, I do love an Apple unboxing. From iPhones to AirPods to MacBooks, Apple has turned opening a product into something that almost feels like a small event in itself. That slow lift of the lid, everything precisely placed, that little moment where the product reveals itself and you've got to lift it out of the box. This Mac Mini was no different. Even though I'd bought the base model, it still felt like I was unboxing something special. First thing you notice with the new Mac Mini is the size, and in this case, size really does matter. I'd always thought how small the previous iteration was, but compared to how small this is, wow, I think the smaller form factor just works so much better on my desk. It looks cleaner, it feels more deliberate, and if you've ever watched creators tear down one of the older Mac Minis, then you'll know that inside the case there is a surprising amount of empty space, which is probably why Apple finally decided that smaller was better, because that smaller design like this was inevitable. It's almost as if they'd been quietly working towards another wow moment with the Mac Mini. They obviously had the Mac Mini was the first Apple Silicon Mac, and now that form factor, along with being one of the, if not the most valued Mac out there. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree with that. One of the changes that makes a bigger difference than you'd expect is having ports on the front. Having those easily accessible means temporary accessories like cameras or portable storage devices can be just plugged in instantly. So no reaching behind the Mac Mini, no awkward cable hunting, just plug in, do the thing, unplug and move on. Those little quality of life improvements that just add up when you're using a computer like this every day. Another small change I noticed straight away was that built-in speaker. Now, let's be realistic. The native sound from any Mac Mini isn't amazing. You're not going to be replacing a proper speaker setup with this, but compared to the previous Mac Mini design, it's definitely an improvement. It's perfectly usable for quick audio playback, system sounds, or checking clips without needing to turn on those external speakers. And again, small improvements like that make this machine feel much more complete. But if you are doing video or sound editing, get a proper speaker or use some headphones. But the real reason this computer works so well for me isn't the design, it's the role that it plays in my setup. Now, most of my heavy editing actually happens on my 15-inch M2 MacBook Air, but the Mac Mini acts as something slightly different. It's basically my always-on server hub. My external storage is permanently connected to this Mac Mini. So while this Mac Mini stays powered on, I can access all of my files from my MacBook Air anywhere in the house. Footage, projects, archive, B-roll, all easily accessible. So no unplugging drives, no moving cables, and definitely no need to warrant anything other than the base storage model, because we all know how much the upsell cost of Macs are when you add storage. The Mac Mini just quietly manages everything. And this is where the conversation about base models really gets interesting, because whenever Apple releases an entry-level base device like this, the internet tends to react in a very predictable way. They say things like, not enough RAM, it's not powerful enough, don't buy the base model. I can get a Windows computer with better specs than this for less. And on the surface, those criticisms sound reasonable. Tech reviewers tend to push hardware to the limits, testing the edges of what these devices can do. But here's the strange thing about that approach. Most people aren't operating at the edge of what their computers can do. They're operating somewhere in the middle. The internet tends to judge technology by its maximum capability. While most people, including you and I, experience technology through their daily usefulness, and Those two are very different measurements. And modern computers, especially Macs, iPads, phones, are built on Apple Silicon because that in itself has shifted the baseline in a pretty dramatic way. The entry-level devices today, including our phones, are more powerful than professional machines many people were using just a few years ago, which creates this strange moment in tech where the lowest tier device is still incredibly capable, but being judged against the absolute best of the best. So the conversation has become less about what the computer is and more about what it isn't. And that's where base models often get misunderstood. Entry-level products aren't designed to win benchmark battles. They're designed to bring people into the ecosystem. And Apple's ethos is, how can we get and what can we do to get more people to use our products, our phones, our tablets, and our computers? My first Mac was this base M1 Mac Mini. That machine did everything I needed, and more importantly, it showed me what the Mac ecosystem could do. And once you're in that ecosystem, once the tools become part of your workflow, upgrading later becomes the natural step. So 8 months later, this Mac Mini has quietly become the backbone of my workflow. It manages storage, it runs constantly, consistently, and silently with no issue. It supports everything else that I do, and it does all of that without ever really demanding attention, which might actually be the best compliment I can give for a computer like this. Now, I've got to remember that the base Mac Mini was my first entry into the Mac ecosystem. Since then, I've added a MacBook Air and even upgraded the Mac Mini itself, and it all started with the cheapest Mac that Apple sold, which makes the whole internet debate about base models a little interesting, because the question people keep asking is the base model powerful enough? But after 8 months of actually living with the base model, I think the better question is, does it do a job that you need it to? Because if the answer is yes, then everything else is just noise. And if you do need more, well, that's exactly why Apple make higher spec Macs. If you enjoyed this video, press that like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.